Paula Drogi, and this is my search for a material soul. In general, I try to avoid being judgy. It's one of those deeply rooted human tendencies to make ourselves feel better by demeaning others. In contrast, kindness that seeks to understand the offending behavior both opens me up to the possibility of forgiveness, or to correct my misinterpretation, and reveals the other person as human, navigating the world in a way that makes sense to them. Humility and curiosity rather than arrogance and degradation. And yet I have a file full of articles titled Bad Church. They fall into two types, fundamentalism and technology. There are undoubtedly other problematic aspects of religion that may or may not come up at a later point in the journey, but these two are at the forefront of my concern at this point. It turns out I have a lot to say about Bad Church, and my friend and faithful follower Annie suggested I make shorter videos. So I'll lay out the criteria for evaluation in this video, consider fundamentalism in the next one, and then technology in the following one. My challenge in this series is to maintain an attitude of humility and curiosity. We'll see how well I do. To aid me in this challenge is the incomparable William James. Writing at the turn of the 20th century, James was a thoughtful and empathetic critic, even while thoroughly skewering his ideological opponents. In his classic Varieties of Religious Experiences, James adopts a pragmatic view of religion. The way to judge the value of religion, without being judgy, is to consider how useful it is. James recommends 3 criteria: immediate luminousness, philosophical reasonableness, and moral helpfulness. Adherents of religions often claim authority for the religion in the origins, such as mystical experiences or divine revelation. According to James, this sort of origin story is susceptible to the materialist skeptic, who argues that visions are merely hallucinations or delusions, exemplifying psychological disease, not spiritual truth. While origin can explain the nature of an experience, it doesn't determine its value either positively or negatively. The criteria of usefulness, on the other hand, can distinguish between spirituality and mental illness. First, from the subjective perspective, does the experience provide a sense of enlightenment, a connection to something beyond oneself? Second, does the explanation of the experience make sense in relation to other things we know about reality? And third, is the person who has had the experience more generous and loving? These criteria don't require that we establish a divine source of the experience and rule out natural causes. They focus on the value of the experience to the people who have had the experiences and how they relate to others around them. Luminosity, enlightenment, transcendence are all fancy words that point to the way experiences can fill us with awe and a feeling of unity. I often have these experiences when looking at the horizon while hiking a ridge or staring at the ocean. When discussing the way psychedelics can produce this effect, many of my students said that they'd never had an experience of transcendence. I don't recommend drugs as a shortcut to induce this sort of experience, although I may explore the possibility sometime. Still, I do think it's a shame if someone has never had an experience of awe or transcendence. The emotional and moral value of awe experiences came up in the video on evil as a way to inspire people to do good. There are also health benefits: lowered blood pressure, less stress, decrease in inflammation. An experience of luminosity feels good, inspires good, and is good for you. Philosophical reasonableness is also a fancy way of saying that religion should fit with other systems of understanding. This criterion is my primary motivation for this blog. I do believe that religion is or can be reasonable, and it would be worthwhile to figure out how to think about religion and the material world in ways that make them compatible, if possible. This is a good point to remind you of that goal. While there are many, many ways to practice religion, only some will be amenable to a material soul. Those are the kind I'm interested in exploring. Moral helpfulness is perhaps the most obvious of the three criteria. We expect religion to help us be moral. People can certainly be moral without religion, as I argued in Season 1, Episode 8, Does God Determine Right and Wrong? And religion is valuable for reasons beyond morality, such as the benefits of luminosity that I just discussed. Still, religion connects us to something larger than ourselves, to the power of being I discussed in my most recent video, Season 2, Episode 7, What is Religion For? When our perspective is enlarged in this way, we become less self-interested. We see the ways that the joys and pains of others affect us and how our joys and pains affect others. Moral helpfulness becomes a natural extension of self-care. And one more self-promoting reference to Season 2, Episode 6, Did Religion Evolve? Think about these criteria and see if you agree with me that they're useful, non-judgy ways to evaluate the value of religion. Feel free to leave a comment or suggestion of other criteria. It seems to me the only way to ensure an evaluation is fair and accurate is to compare with the evaluation of others. So I'd love to know what your views are. And stay tuned for fundamentalism and technology.